Tonight, the airport in Stephenville finally has a new owner.
His plans are, I presume, to still carry on with drone development for the future of the airport.
Nearly 2 years after it was first announced, a deal to sell the Stephenville airport has finally been reached. That story coming up.
For guests to come on board and unpack only once and still get to see 5 or 10 or 15 different ports in their vacation.
Well, Corner Brook is seeing more cruise ships than ever this summer. And today I got the lucky assignment of getting a tour of one of these very luxurious cruise ships. I'll take you on board.
Here in Canada, here in Newfoundland and Labrador, this represents an incredible economic opportunity.
The Deputy Prime Minister was in Argentia today, calling attention to the developing hydrogen production and export industry in this province.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Well, nearly 2 years after it was first announced, the deal to sell the Stephenville airport to an Ottawa businessman is finally complete. The paperwork was finalized late Friday, and now Carl Diamond, who's originally from Torbay, and his Diamond group of companies are the new owners. CBC's Troy Turner has been following the story and has the details.
It's been nearly 2 years since we first heard Stephenville Airport would be privately owned. On Friday, a document transferring ownership of the airport to Diamond was filed at the Provincial Registry of Companies.
I feel positive about it, and I feel that actually it's been the right move for the board and the community to make this move at this time.
William McNeil signed the deal on behalf of the airport board. He said it was a long time coming, and there were delays due to the airport's historic insolvency. But the future is bright.
I think actually the airport itself is going to stabilize more and be more of a business unit rather than get caught up in a lot of negative politics. It seems like he's definitely going to try to build it and make it a viable operation with using different projects, or different initiatives.
Those plans are huge. They include a manufacturing facility to build unmanned drones the size of a Hercules aircraft and thousands of jobs.
Over the next couple of years, we want to build at 250, 550, 700, 1,000, and up to 5,000 over the next couple of years to be able to employ everyone, but in a meaningful, strategic, and logical way.
It's going to contribute an early investment of $200 million into the airport infrastructure and to the community.
The town of Stephenville has carried the financial burden of the airport for years. Not anymore, says the mayor.
It's paying tax now, and it actually, part of the terms, we had received checks from the airport corporation transferred to the Diamond Group's lawyers. So all the water and sewer taxes have been paid. There was some residual on one of the buildings that the town had the mortgage on. That was about 10 grand. We received a check for that. So we've already received revenue at the town of Stephenville, and actually those checks came in on Friday.
Mayor Tom Rose says he's looking forward to seeing plans come to fruition.
The terms were he had to carry on all liabilities, and the liabilities was the lighting system. His plans are, I presume, to still carry on with drone development for the future of the airport. It is a growing industry. His plans were to keep all the employees working. And in the terms of the agreement, the airport has to maintain commercial aviation status.
Carl Diamond did not respond to requests for an interview. He's expected to visit Stephenville in the coming weeks. Troy Turner, CBC News, Gander.
Well, this Thursday marks Overdose Awareness Day. Last week, we brought you scenes and voices from a protest held at Confederation Building with families sharing personal stories of losing loved ones to drug overdoses. Well, members of the Substance User Network of the Atlantic region say drug users, former and present, need to be part of the conversation.
I think we've kind of tunnel visioned as society that drugs are bad, drugs are evil, and everyone must stop. That approach has been around for quite a long time, and it has not worked. This don't do drugs, just say no has caused things to escalate to where we are today with this extremely toxic drug supply, because we've tried to just prohibit and prohibit and prohibit, and it's just caused, the underground to create more creative ways to get drugs, out on the streets.
Well, coming up in about 25 minutes, we'll hear more of what Jill Hurnham had to say about drug issues, safe injection sites, and including everyone in the conversation. Well, the provincial government will now cover the cost of a medical examination for drivers 75 years of age or older. Doctors will now bill MCP directly rather than charge patients. The change is retroactive to April 1st and will cover up to $100 for the exam. $1.3 million was set aside in this year's provincial budget to cover the cost of the exams.
For those of you on the West Coast, it was a very rainy weekend. Wreck House area picked up 79.7 millimeters of rain. Port aux Basques, about 46.7. You can see really anywhere from about 30 to about 40 millimeters of rain up the West Coast, including southeastern portions of Labrador. Now, that rain has since ended for the most part. Still seeing some showers in southeastern Labrador. In fact, a few thunderstorms as well. Same thing for Bonavista North this afternoon. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see most of that activity has moved offshore. The risk will end as we head through the night tonight, but if I zoom out a little bit, we are still talking about Hurricane Franklin. In fact, a strong Category 4 hurricane at the moment. As we head through the next couple of days, we're going to start to see some rain as we head into midweek. This is not necessarily associated with Franklin. That is going to pass to the south of us, but we are going to see some enhanced rainfall. Environment Canada has a special weather statement in effect. I'll tell you all about it when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, Corner Brook is seeing more cruise ships than ever this summer, with thousands of tourists flocking to the downtown core of the city. And while those visitors shopped and walked around, special city guests were welcomed aboard the Zandam for a tour of the luxurious ship. Here and Now's Colleen Connors takes us on board.
Thousands of passengers piled off Holland America's Zandam early this morning, headed for hiking tours, bus tours, and walks around the city. But inside was a different story.
It is very cool. It can be really deceptive looking at the ship from the outside, and then when you get inside, you say, wow.
The Holland America line is celebrating 150 years and invited city officials and members of the Port Corporation on board for a look around. The ship offers the best of the best, with things like a gym and spa, executive dining on several different floors, pools everywhere, even a casino and a library.
Life's very good on board. You know, there's a lot of nice food around. There's entertainment around. It's made very comfortable. A very comfortable way of traveling, of course, for guests to come on board and unpack only once and still get to see 5 or 10 or 15 different ports in their vacation. It's generally a really nice atmosphere on board.
While passengers explored Corner Brook, members with the Port Corporation and the cruise ship's captain exchanged plaques to mark the vessel's inaugural visit this August to Corner Brook, a tradition for every new ship that comes to town.
Hopefully we wish for a good future together and many more visits to the same place.
This is one of 7 inaugural calls this summer. 29 cruise ships visit Corner Brook. That's over 40,000 passengers, a record year for the Corner Brook Port Corporation.
The cruise industry in the Corner Brook is really booming at the moment. We're seeing more numbers coming in every year, and having a ship of this size, especially when the passengers come off, we want to make sure they have a great experience, because that economic benefit that brings to our community is so widespread and so well appreciated.
And this view is also appreciated. The Holland America line is one of the oldest cruise lines in the world, with passengers coming back again and again for cruises, some spending 1,000 days at sea. And you can see why.
For me, it's really just jumping on board, and then it's almost like you've been transported in a completely different place. And then you walk out on deck and you're like, wow, we're still home.
The Zandam leaves through the Bay of Islands tonight at 10:30. Passengers on board this vessel will spend the day in Corner Brook, of course. Their next port is in PEI and then Quebec. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, the plan to develop a hydrogen production and export industry in this province received some high-profile attention today. The number 2 politician in the federal government visited Argentia, the proposed site of a $4 billion wind energy and hydrogen plant. Terry Roberts joins us live from Argentia to tell us more. So, Terry, why was the Deputy PM here today?
Yeah, well, Carolyn, that's the big question, isn't it? Well, first, I guess before I answer that, I should set up what's going on here in Argentia. Now, I've been here a number of times in recent months. There's a lot of activity here in this port, this former U.S. naval base. So what's happening here really is that Argentia is starting to set itself apart when it comes to the global energy transition. Just over the hill here to my right, there's what they're called monopiles here. Now, they're massive steel tubes. They're being stored here. They've started to arrive just a few weeks ago. Many dozens will come here. They'll eventually end up offshore the U.S., where major offshore wind energy projects are proposed for the coming years. And now Pattern Energy, a company called Pattern Energy, they're proposing to build a massive wind energy, a 300 megawatt wind farm here on the hills just to my left here. And they're going to use that green energy, that non-emitting energy, to power a hydrogen plant here. To make hydrogen, that hydrogen will be converted into ammonia, and then it will be put on ships, probably right here at this pier, and sent to Germany to help Germany with its transition to a green economy. So why was the Deputy Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance here today, Freeland? Well, that's interesting because the talk here today was about an investment tax credit. The federal government has a tax credit for clean hydrogen, where they could give tax breaks of up to 40% of a project's cost. Now, the project we're looking at here, $1.4 billion in the first phase. Over 2 phases, $4 billion. So that's going to be a big incentive to help get this project off the ground. They're saying that this could be the first hydrogen project in Newfoundland and Labrador to actually start to export that clean fuel to Europe. So the big question, but why was the Deputy Prime Minister here? The latest in a long line of federal Liberal cabinet ministers to come here to Placentia. This project is not yet sanctioned, still no environmental approval. So we asked her today, why are you even here yet to talk about this project? And I think we have that clip. Can we play that for you?
I describe this transition as being comparable to the Industrial Revolution, and I really, really believe that it is. And I think Canada can win that race. I think we're doing really, really well. In order for us to win that race, I think that we have to have conversations on the ground where the projects are, with local communities, with local MPs, with the business leaders who are working on those projects. And I think that it's really important for me and my team, as we're doing very specific things, designing the hydrogen tax credits, to see for ourselves what the promising projects are across the country.
And Terry, other topics were discussed as well. Chrystia Freeland's visit comes at a time when there's growing friction between the provincial and federal governments over the carbon tax on fuels, along with the new clean fuel regulations. So what did Freeland have to say about that?
Well, we couldn't let that opportunity go because just in recent days, the Premier has written a Prime Minister and asking for a reversal of those carbon tax increases. As we all know, even home heating oil, the 40,000 plus homeowners in this province who heat their homes with home heating oil, 17 cent per litre increase in recent months because of the carbon tax. And also the clean fuel regulations. We're being told the Parliamentary Budget Office has come out with a report saying that Newfoundland and Labrador could be disproportionately affected by all the carbon tax and those clean fuel regulations. Because why? Well, we're an island. We're very remote. We have, Labrador, we have a lot of communities who are very isolated in places like Labrador. So Premier Furey and his government, they've asked their Liberal cousins to pause these clean fuel regulations. They've asked them to reverse these carbon tax increases. So of course we asked Chrystia Freeland today, is that going to happen? And she gave a very careful answer, saying, there's the payments are starting to come out now. $1,300 a year for a family of 4, for example. And she also stressed that, this is an opportunity for us now to really address climate change and to fight climate change and to reduce our use of fossil fuels. So I guess the bottom line here is that it's full steam ahead for hydrogen projects in this province, with Argentia very likely, from what we're hearing here today, to be the first to actually export hydrogen from this province. But if you're hoping for a break on those carbon taxes, well, you might have to wait a long time. Terry Roberts, CBC News, Argentia.
And coming up in about 20 minutes, we'll hear more of what Christia Freeland had to say in Argentia today.
We're a very busy place. We're a very busy tourist industry now. We have a lot of tourists coming, so we really need a police presence here, and we kind of said that this decision has to be reversed.
Well, coming up, we'll hear from the mayor of Fogo Island to get his reaction to the news that the police won't be packing up and leaving.
We've got a couple of systems, Hurricane Franklin and also Tropical Storm Idalia, that is going to be a major hurricane as we head through the next couple of days. We'll talk all about the impacts when I come back.
Well, it's a busy time for you, Ashley. 2 storms happening in the Atlantic now, and I guess everyone's wondering what's going to be happening with Franklin this week if we're going to be hit by it.
Yeah, we've been talking an awful lot about that last week, and as we get closer and closer to the potential impacts, things start to become a little bit more clear. Now, I'm not saying they are clear. Let's say they're clear as mud at this point. We still have a few things to iron out, but yes, there are a couple of things happening in and around the tropics at the moment, or the Atlantic Basin, I should say. Tropical storm Dahlia at the moment is a tropical storm, but is forecast to become a major hurricane and head towards Florida as we head through to Wednesday, becoming a major hurricane, it looks like. So certainly a storm to keep an eye on it if you are headed towards Florida at all. And then we talk about Hurricane Franklin, currently a Category 4 storm, so it certainly has intensified over the weekend, currently topping out at 280 kilometer per hour wind gusts. And the storm at the moment is moving north and will start to make a turn to the east as we head through the next couple of days. Forecast to stay at a Category 4 hurricane, and eventually as we head into next week, as you can see, it actually kind of slowed down and headed well offshore, at least as far as the official forecast track is concerned, for into Thursday, into the Friday timeframe, weakening significantly as we get into the Friday timeframe, but it does look like it will track well south of Newfoundland. Now, this does not mean we aren't going to see any impacts, kind of as a byproduct, in fact, because we've got a special weather statement in effect along the west coast, along the south coast of the island as well. I do anticipate that these will eventually extend to the rest of the island. But at this point, that is what Environment Canada has. Now, why is there a special weather statement? There are a couple of things that are going to happen. There's an area of low pressure or an upper level trough that is going to dig over essentially the maritime provinces as we head into Tuesday, Wednesday timeframe. Now that is Franklin there to the south. This is all of the moisture associated with Franklin, which tropical moisture is quite significant. It looks like this trough will interact with some of that moisture, tap into some of that moisture as we head into the Wednesday, Thursday timeframe and swing it towards Newfoundland. What does that mean? Well, we may see some enhanced rainfall from that if it does tap into some of that moisture. And when we tend to see these things, we see a significant amount of moisture, and that will continue pretty much as we head into Thursday. This is just one model's guide. Take this with a grain of salt at this point, but it does look like significant rain will happen. We could be talking about 100+ millimeters of rain in some cases, maybe even more. It depends on what happens over the next couple of days and how that trough will interact with Franklin's moisture, if it does at all. But it is certainly something to keep an eye on over the next couple of days. The other thing is, even though Franklin is well south of us and will be well south of us, we're still going to see some seas from this. The impact will start Thursday and then into Friday morning. We could be talking about some high surf and definitely some rip currents close to the ocean. Best thing to do at this point is prepare your property for potential heavy rain. Clean out gutters and downspouts. Also, storm drains, good idea to do that. Ensure your sump pumps are working if you have that, and the best thing to do is to stay informed with the forecast as it becomes a little bit more clear over the next couple of days. The good thing is, as we head through tomorrow, it'll be a good day to get all of that done. We're looking at lots of sunshine across the island, up across Labrador. Generally pretty nice. Some clouds will be on the increase, though, for the west and the north, where your temperatures will stay a bit cool as well. But we will see those clouds on the increase out ahead of this next system as we head into Wednesday morning. Temperature-wise, tomorrow, a beautiful day. Into the low to mid-20s right across the board, maybe a bit cooler along the south coast. Winds generally light, a little breezy on the west coast, so 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. But yes, lots of sunshine through the day. We may see a bit of high cloud for eastern areas, but overall gorgeous day. Temperatures across Labrador will be in the mid-20s as well. A little cooler for Nain. In fact, cold front's going to sweep through, bring some cool temperatures, maybe even flirting with 0 over the next couple of days. In Lab City, you will hover around 18. So that's your Tuesday forecast. We will look ahead to what the rest of the week has in store when I come back.
Well, the residents of Fogo Island won't be losing a full-time police force after all. The RCMP has reversed a decision to cut staffing on Fogo Island. It had planned to transfer its officers off Fogo Island to operate part-time out of Gander, about 2 hours away. Now, that decision sparked protests from hundreds of residents on Fogo Island, but in a news release on the weekend, the RCMP committed to permanently staffing the Fogo Island detachment. Joining me now for reaction is Fogo Island Mayor Andrew Shea. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
So what did you think when you heard the news the RCMP will keep a full-time police force on Fogo Island?
Oh, we were very pleased. We were very pleased. And the three people that negotiated with Gander were very professional. You know, to have the three houses filled. There's three policemen, there's three houses, so our houses will be occupied, and they will be here full-time on Fogo Island. We couldn't ask for anything more. We're very, very pleased.
So can you kind of break down for us what the RCMP has committed to doing here?
Well, they're going to basically reverse the decision, and they're going to be like they always were. They're going to do all the patrols. We're going to have three people, always two, so that we can have a backup for anyone who is called. So it's right back to normal, like it always has been. We've had the RCMP since 1952, about 69 years, and they've always lived here. We've had three houses for the officers. We always had three officers, and we have to have three officers because when one is off, there has to be at least one on call. So we have to have three, and that's what was needed, and that's what they did, exactly what we had before. So we're very pleased.
Can you remind us about what your concerns were here? Like, how important was this decision to reverse this and to make sure that the police force stays on Fogo Island?
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Just we're an aging population. Just for people to feel secure in their homes, just that they can call a policeman if something happens. We have a hospital. We have two nurses on duty nighttime. And sometimes we have people coming in, maybe using drugs and needing some help, and they have to call the police. So who do they call when someone like that shows up at 2 o'clock in the morning? Call Gander, which is a 4-hour ride, time to get on the ferry and get out. It's just not acceptable. So those are the kind of things that we're very concerned about.
Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of public pushback on the cut. I mentioned the protests. Do you think that had anything to do with the RCMP changing its mind?
Yes, we were very organized and we were very civilized. And we carried out a plan that we had put in place. We first had a meeting to inform all the people. We had 12 speakers who spoke on how it would affect them, how it would affect them negatively. We had ambulance drivers. We had the principal of the school, for instance, say that if we have a lockdown, we can't release our students till someone comes out from Gander to release the students. This kind of thing. So it was really good, really well organized. We had a campaign where everybody called and talked to their MHA and MP and other people, and we had a petition to sign. Up till the time we canceled it, it was just about 1,400 names already. Close to 70% of the people had signed it by then. So we were really well organized, and I think we put together a good campaign, and we just put it out there that what effect this would have on the Fogo Island, and I think it changed people's mind.
What have you been hearing from residents about this since the news came out to keep the officers on the island?
Oh, everybody is really happy, really pleased that it's happening because, it could affect our tourist industry. Maybe people wouldn't want to come here as tourists if they knew they never had a police force to protect them, and some seniors and some people may leave the island. So we're very pleased because we are a very busy outboard island. We're big in the tourist industry. We're big in the fishery. We got our own cooperative. Our cooperative does about $50 million a year in fishery, and we got a big hotel, Shorefast, that's drawing people from all over the world. So we're not an island that's dying or sinking. We're an island that's rising and contributing to the economy of Newfoundland and Canada. So we need to be protected too.
Well, Mayor Andrew Shea, I really appreciate your time today, and I guess I could say congratulations on this this reversal of the decision. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're very, very happy. We're very happy about it, and we got to thank everyone that's been involved with this. But I think the three officers from Gander really did a good job in a very professional manner, and I think they came to the right decision. thank you for the airtime, you know.
Well, the Deputy Prime Minister spoke with reporters during her quick stop in Argentia today. She was asked why such a high-profile politician came to the community, and she was asked about a recent letter from Premier Andrew Furey to the Prime Minister about the rising cost of fuel, thanks in part to the carbon tax.
I really believe that there is a race right now in the world. There is a race to attract capital, and there is a race to build the big clean energy projects the world is going to need to fuel the green transition. I describe this transition as being comparable to the Industrial Revolution, and I really, really believe that it is. And I think Canada can win that race. I think we're doing really, really well. In order for us to win that race, I think that we have to have conversations on the ground where the projects are, with local communities, with local MPs, with the business leaders who are working on those projects. And I think that it's really important for me and my team, as we're doing very specific things, designing the hydrogen tax credits, to see for ourselves what the promising projects are across the country, and to talk to the people directly who are building those projects, so that we can be sure that the support the government provides to hydrogen across the country is not something designed in some office in Ottawa. I mean, work will be done in offices in Ottawa, but that it is informed by the work done here on the ground. I take the concerns of the Premier, of Ken's constituents, because Ken talked to me about them. I take those concerns very seriously. The cost of living is a real challenge here in Newfoundland and Labrador. And, you know, gas is a part of that. Heating oil is a part of that. I think it's important to recognize that the climate action incentive payments, they're going to make a difference. That's $1,300 for a family of 4. I don't want to overstate it. It won't solve everything, but it will make a real difference. And I do also think we all need to recognize, and look, people here recognize it maybe more than pretty much anybody else in the country, that the climate transition is an opportunity for our country, that it is something that if we embrace, and we are, that is a tremendous source of jobs and growth for today and for the future.
Well, a group called the Substance User Network of the Atlantic Region, or SUNAR, says that drug users and former users need to be part of the conversation about drug overdoses. The story has dominated headlines for much of the summer, and SUNAR feels input from those who know the issue firsthand is important. The regional peer lead of SUNAR, Jill Harnham, spoke with the St. John's Morning Show.
I definitely think we have a long way to go with providing, say, meaningful opportunity for people with lived expertise to be part of policy and decision-making and program implementation. I know there's discussions underway of starting a safe consumption site here in Newfoundland, and there's a lot of great organizations out there, and I know, Eastern Health and the government and community organizations are doing incredible work. But the people spearheading this need to be people with lived experience, because we know best what's going to work for us. For some reason, even though we've seen this work since, Vancouver started its first safe consumption site, we still, as a community and as a healthcare, have not been able to establish a site that is known to save lives. No one has ever died in a safe consumption site, but yet we have drug users themselves, people who use drugs, initiating these evidence-based practices on their own. I think it's really important that people hear that harm reduction is not needle exchange. That's one piece of it, is not only handing out naloxone kits and test strips to test your drugs. Harm reduction is everything from supporting people who use recreationally to use safer, and to support people to engage in treatment if that is what they want. So it encompasses treatment to me, in the whole philosophy itself. It's meeting people where they are at, providing resources to people that they're asking for, and, making all the options available to people. And harm reduction, most important to my heart, is an attitude we have towards people who use drugs. It's that compassion. It's that, no judgment, no stigma, treating people with respect and dignity that they deserve.
Well, the summer is winding down, and so is the summer festival season, but the Heart's Content Regional Centre for the Arts has been busy all summer with performances in a unique venue, a converted church that's nearly 150 years old. Video producer Mark Humby stopped by a few years ago as part of the Repurposed series. Have a look.
The church was built in 1878, so it's 141 years old.
It was the former Hayfield United Church, and Jesse Hayfield was here from England, and he did 2 stints here. And he came back, I think, in 1910, and he passed away, and he's actually buried out in the graveyard.
In 2007, it was listed on the Register of Canada's Historic Places. But then in 2009, it was vacant, it was not used, it was starting to fall into a state of disrepair, and it was slated for demolition. The Heart's Content Missing Heritage Society, which is the group that I'm involved with, bought the building for $1, and with the intention of repurposing it into a performing arts center. Up and down the shore, the Trinity South region here, we have no venue quite like this one. We have, this is primarily a concert venue, beautiful sound system. We've had several concerts now over the last couple of years, and it's a performance venue that artists really enjoy playing in.
To me, it really works because we're close enough to the audience that we feel we're engaging them, and they're close enough to us that they feel that they're being engaged.
For lack of a better word, it's been a real godsend that a lot of these old churches are turning into venues, mainly because the circuit is alive again. Before the COD moratorium, you talked to a lot of the older musicians. There used to be a circuit, and all these Newfoundlanders musicians could just travel around the island, spend 1 week or weekend in a place, and play there, and go to the next place. And people were quite happy, content, and made real good money playing that circuit. When the moratorium happened in '92, that all came crashing down because all these small communities started disappearing. So I was very appreciative of these little church houses turned into music venues.
Being on or near the water can usually help calm the mind. And a new program in New Brunswick is taking that idea and running with it or sailing with it. The program is called Wind Therapy, and it's helping people living with PTSD, anxiety, and other mental illnesses, helping them clear their heads out on the water. Alexander Silberman spoke with some of the people involved.
Tide's nice and high.
The wind on your face, that feeling when you're racing. It's exuberating, like just having that feeling. What I've enjoyed about sailing in general is just how calming it is and how grounding is something, being on the water, and it's something where you have to be focused. G to port. So your mind isn't wandering because it has to focus on the task at hand, but yet you're doing something, and that's a great support to me. Living with PTSD, my brain is always racing, and so calming those thoughts is the racing component forces me to focus on something. And there's lots of people doing different tasks, so I have a job to do when I'm on there, so that's what calms me.
We got a good turnout tonight, so I think we might get the main up now. What's the main? I love the look of joy on somebody's face when they take the wheel and they tack for the first time. Wind therapy program is something new for Able Sail Shediac in the last 3 years. And it's designed around some of our clients who have the, let's say, the non-visible types of disabilities. Anxiety, depression, PTSD. I think that it's a combination of sailing together as a team and having a lot to do, having a lot of busy work to do, that really it's extremely distracting. You don't have a tendency to think about much else when you're out in the racing boat. I would describe the intensity as therapeutic because you're thinking about nothing else. It occupies 100% of your thought process. And it has, for me, it has, I think for most people who sail in any context, whether it's racing or cruising.
It's very freeing. It's very liberating of the mind. Well, as a retired member of the RCMP, sometimes transitioning out of that line of work can present certain challenges in terms of post-traumatic stress, this kind of thing. But being in touch with nature and in an environment on a sailboat where you're being propelled by the wind, it can be very relaxing, but yet at the same time, it can present a lot of interesting challenges, both mentally, physically. These were all things I was very much interested in pursuing. It's really beneficial, and I haven't found any other way as well as what getting on a sailboat does that.
It gives me something to work towards. There's still parts of it where I can get anxious or get a little not confident, I guess. So it gives me kind of some goals to set for myself, which is, again, something that's very helpful to know, like, this is a task, let's see how I make out. It's something that it's done wonders for me in the last 3 years. So.
Well, it's been 5 years since a CBC News investigation led to New Brunswick becoming more transparent about child deaths. But lately, the province has slipped back, failing to file a report in more than 2 years, despite the deaths of 25 children. Carissa Donkin has this follow-up from the Atlantic Investigative Unit.
Former New Brunswick child and youth advocate Norm Bosse doesn't understand why the chief coroner is no longer publishing findings of child death reviews. The chief coroner oversees the committee that carries out the reviews and makes recommendations, and is required to report publicly on the committee's work.
And I just absolutely adamant that the public should know about it, and they give themselves, by being transparent, a lot of credibility. And with credibility comes acceptance of the facts of the case, and I think the public takes it a little more seriously too.
Now, in 2017, a CBC News investigation called The Lost Children found that the committee's press releases could be vague. In the wake of that investigation, the committee was revamped to require the chief coroner to include more detail in the public reporting, things like how the child died and their age. More transparency with the goal of finding more solutions. But in 2021, the chief coroner altogether stopped publishing details of the committee's reviews, and it's not clear why. The union representative for frontline child protection staff in the province says child death reviews can be an important learning tool. In the past, they've flagged problems in the system, things like social workers trying to juggle too many cases. Now, the chief coroner wasn't available for an interview with CBC News. She did send along a statement which says that a press release is put out when there's a review that generates recommendations, but it doesn't explain why that hasn't been happening for the last 2 years. We do know there were at least 4 child death reviews that have happened since 2021, and there were at least 25 children known to the Department of Social Development who died in 2021 and 2022. Carissa Donkin, CBC News, Fredericton.
Okay, so time for a look at the long-range forecast, and that means looking ahead to Wednesday, and that's the day that we're keeping an eye on because of Franklin.
That's right. Yeah, I briefly touched on it a little bit earlier about how this is when we should start to see some of that interaction with Franklin. Let's take a look at the forecast just to show you. This is a really brief overview, but temperatures will be warm and humid as we see that tropical moisture, which is typical of tropical moisture, and also some fairly windy conditions potentially as well. We could be talking about gusts between 70 to as much as 80 kilometers per hour in some cases. Now, it, like I said, completely depends on that interaction and when it does interact or if it does at all. But right now, pretty good chance that we will see some rain starting either in the morning or later on in the afternoon, the further east you get. Up across Labrador, temperatures between 10 and 13 degrees. And then this rain will generally continue. So here's a kind of a look at what's going to happen. I do anticipate this is when we will see some of the heavier rain overnight into Thursday morning, even some of those stronger winds as well associated with that. And that will continue through a good chunk of the day. So this is when we should see most of the rainfall for eastern areas of the island and along the south coast as well. Again, we could be talking about significant amounts of rain in this time frame. So certainly something to keep an eye on. Keep an eye on the forecast over the coming days as this becomes a little bit more clear. As far as temperatures are concerned, on Thursday, we will see warm to start and then drop off as the day goes on, as the system exits. Up across Labrador, we'll see some of that cooler air as well, between 10 to 15 degrees through the day. Southeastern portions of Labrador, you may be seeing some of that heavier rain as well. And your amounts could be more than 40, maybe even 50 or more millimeters of rain as we get through that time frame. And again, some gusty winds associated with that as well on Thursday. Also along the south coast and eastern portions of the island, we could be talking about some high surf and rip currents as well. Long range forecast showing clearing as we get into Friday, Saturday as well. Warming up at this point, it looks like about 21 degrees. There are some forecasts that have us cooling down a little bit as we head into the beginning of September, and then eventually warming back up. But for Western Newfoundland, Friday, Saturday looking lovely. Central Newfoundland, same thing as we get through Friday. And then by Saturday, your temperature will sit around 23 degrees through the afternoon. For Eastern Labrador, a little break by the time we get into Friday, but returning to some shower activity into Saturday. And then for Western Labrador, Thursday looks beautiful. Friday, a few showers will move in, and Saturday looks like rain and about 18 degrees. Now this shot shared on Facebook. Marion sent this lovely photo from Riverhead there. Some wispy cirrus clouds there. Thank you so much for that shot, obviously in the evening hours there. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, you can send them to Facebook, but the best place is nlphotos@cbc.ca.
And the power lines actually give it a bit of artistic flair.
They do. I was thinking about that too. Yeah. Not too bad.
Well, that's it for us on this Monday evening. My goodness, the fall is almost here.
It is almost here.
Yep. I feel like you can feel it in the air sometimes. Well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.